Welcome to the Rotary Time Show, a public service program presented by Rotary District 7610. On our programs, we talk with Rotarians and community leaders and discuss how Rotary International builds partnerships to support local, national, and world communities. I am your host, Rotarian Dr. Deborah Jackson from the Rotary Club of McLean, Virginia. The success of a Rotary Club is dependent on the club president. They lead, inspire, motivate, and connect their clubs with communities and others locally and around the world. Joining me remotely is Rotarian Crystal Lander, who is the new president of the Rotary Club of Alexandria, West Virginia for the 2023-24 Rotary Club year. Welcome, President Crystal, to the Rotary Time Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And before we start, I just want to say I was very proud to see a Rotarian on the dais on this past Saturday at an AKA cluster, and to know that we represent the same organization. So I want to make sure everyone knows that in the audience, how proud I was of you being the basilisk of your chapter, or the president of your chapter. So let's go ahead and get started here, because I've already said I want people to hear from you and hear about what's happening at Alexandria West. But before we do that, tell us about your background and your life before Rotary, where you're from, your education, your career path.
Absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me. This is an honor. So I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I am a huge Eagles fan. So born and raised, and really proud of it. I attended the University of Michigan for undergraduate, and again, became a huge Michigan football fan. So one thing I noticed is a theme there about joining amazing organizations or being a part of amazing families of organizations. So Carter, Rotarian Barbara Carter, who's been a member, I think, for 40 plus years.
Oh my goodness.
And she took me under her wing and said, Rotary is about connecting with people from all walks of life on issues that are of concern, and friendships and fellowships. And I was like, wow, this sounds great. And when I looked across the room, Probably no one was my age. No one shared my profession. But what was cool is we had so much in common. We
Mhm.
had common. We all lived in DC. We volunteered together. And so after being in that club for about 8 years, I moved to Virginia and I wanted to continue that connection. So I quickly looked around to find a club that was near me, and I found the Alexandria West Club.
Oh.
And I was immediately drawn there because now I'm at a different point in my life. I've been around for a little while, and I found a club that was really made up of neighbors.
Hmm.
These were neighbors who were so different from each other, but many of them lived in that Cameron Station area, who lived along the Van Doren
Hmm.
corridor.
Corridor. Hmm.
And it was really just fun to make that connection with them. And we instantly drew in. My son started coming to Rotary meetings at 6 months. Another club, the club president at the time, his young sons came. So became an extension of family.
Yes,
And
yes.
so that's what I love so much about this particular club.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I believe that probably would be the sentiment in a lot of the clubs when you go to visit. So I'm glad to hear that it's still there and that you're doing some
Absolutely.
amazing things over there in Alexandria. Um, so now let's talk a little bit about your club. Tell us about Rotary Club of Alexandria West. What is the makeup? Is it a large club, small club? How many members you might have? Those kinds of things.
Absolutely. So the club is like all the clubs, I think. Post COVID is a little bit different than it used to be. So right now it's a much smaller club, about 8 members. We meet twice a month, once virtually, once in person, and it's a club that still has that connection of family and personal. We really do know each other, and it's kind of growing back together.
Mm-hmm.
It's very diverse. Most of our club members are people of color,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of women. I think about 80% women. And the nice thing is, two club members are former district governors, and there's just such a wealth of knowledge. But it's also this sense of everyone can come where they are and be who they want to be. So we have, club members who have really been drawn in because they have been a part of other Rotary clubs, and then we have other ones who are brand new to Rotary, but everyone really is invited in and respected and supported. Another thing about our club is a good portion of us all have a connection to international,
Mm-hmm.
either through spouses or personal connections. I grew up in other countries. And I think that also brings a specialness to Rotary. I think we see the tentacles of Rotary
Oh,
that exist around the world, which is
gotcha.
truly special.
Yes, it is. And thank you for sharing. And we'll come back to a little bit more about the international piece a little bit later. Talk about your club functions, your meetings. How are they structured? You mentioned briefly that you have a meeting and then you have a fellowship activity. How does that work? Do you have speakers for those meetings that you do have? Is it a service project? How do you handle that?
So before, like I said, pre-COVID, we were regular meeting every Thursday for dinner or every Tuesday for dinner. What we did is really said, some people now work from home and some people are back in the office,
Mm-hmm.
and we wanted to find something that worked for our club. And again, that's what makes Rotary so special. You can tailor it for what it works. Of course, we keep it over a meal, and we meet twice a month on Thursdays at 6:30. One of those meetings, it was second Thursday, it's in person, and fourth Thursday, it's virtual. And we also always will have a service project that's going on, and I can talk more about that later.
Mm-hmm.
But we try to make sure our meetings are active. So when we meet in person, we make that a social. So last month we had a nice membership event, and a club member hosted us at her home, and it was just wonderful. Everyone invites the guests, and we had a wine tasting, and it was just very fun and celebratory of life, and making connections for folks in and around the Alexandria community. The virtual meetings really allow for those members who have moved to other places during COVID, who still want to be a part of the network, to still participate. And we want them to. We know that this is still like their Rotary home, even though they
Right.
may find a club closer to where they live, or they may be temporarily traveling. We wanted to make sure our club met the needs of our members.
Gotcha, gotcha. And everything you've talked about is all about Rotary, and everything is done over food. So
Yes.
that's important. Are there new programs you have, are you thinking about instituting during your tenure, or are you just going to kind of ensure that those programs that you have, existing programs, are done to their highest level?
So we've been talking a lot about this. So we're doing a mix of old and new. So we have some sustainable community partnerships that exist. So we have partnered with the Tucker Elementary School and Cameron Station in Alexandria, where we participate and partner with them on activities such as Gobble Gobble around Thanksgiving. We just donated $1,000 to a longstanding partnership with families who are in need at the school. So we want to keep that going. We added on a new element where we'll be partnering with not only the school, but also with the the Arlington Links chapter on a community garden behind the school. So we want to make sure that we keep that connection and then add in new partners. We're adding in a peace pole, which is such a representation of Rotary and such a core principle of Rotary about peace. And so we're going to add that to the back of the school. That's some of the new things we're going to be doing in this year is we're going to be making a special focus on metastatic breast cancer and treatment and support for those who are living with breast cancer. Unfortunately, we lost a club president a few years ago to breast cancer, NG, and she was amazing. And so she had such wonderful energy. But to make sure we're educating and supporting other women in our community and men, to be honest, who are living with breast cancer in her honor, we have made that a club principal program that will, signature program that will continue to do.
Possibilities are all around us. We see potential in unexpected places. And when we share our knowledge, vision, and connections, we turn great ideas into action in communities all around the world. Together, we can make real change happen. We're Rotary. We are people of action. Get involved at Rotary.org.
Welcome back to the Rotary Times. We are here talking with Rotarian Crystal Lander, the president of the Rotary Club of Alexandria, West Virginia, for the 2023-24 Rotary year. President Crystal, before break, you happened to mention that you all were instituting a peace pole in the rear of one of the elementary schools in Alexandria. Talk about that for us. I'd love to hear what's happening with that.
Absolutely. So we've had this long-standing relationship with Tucker Elementary School, where we've been partnering with the school counselors and the principal, and frankly, the staff on ways to engage. And given all that is happening in the world, we recognize how important it is to focus on a core principle of Rotary, peace. And this is not something that can't happen. We know we need to talk about it more, and we need to have some representation of that. So in the community gardens that the school has graciously put together so that we could help grow food and vegetables for the kids to take home and families to do, and but also learn to care for, we thought that would be a perfect place to hold some programs around peace. So in the spring, the pole will be installed and we'll hold a few activities that focus on peace and what does that really mean and how we can get there. I think growing up, I always heard and we talked about peace and what it means, but I think maybe we just don't talk about it enough. And I think having that physical representation in the community will really help us get to that goal.
I would love to. Well, let me know when it's done. I'd love to go over and see it because I'm sure it's going to be wonderful and very representative of your club. So let me ask you, so of all the programs or projects that you've been involved with there, which one that you've been personally involved that you have found the most satisfaction?
Hands down, Flags for Heroes. I love this program. One is because I didn't know anything about it when I got to my club. We have been doing it, and we partnered with a couple other clubs to do it. And essentially, you have a flag, or you donate money to put a flag for a hero in your life, a veteran, someone who have served the country or served another country even, but usually served the U.S. in the U.S. military. And we put out a flag in their honor. And I love this so much because it's just a reminder of the sacrifices. We live in an area where there are a lot of military families. And so it's just a visual of all those who have lost their lives, but also those who have given up their time, energy, and talent. And so I love this particular one because our Rototots, as we call them, our young Rotarians, were able to come out and help. They help take up the flags, they help put them down, and we got to talk to them about it. So my son is on our website as when he was a kid, about 6 years old, helping with the flags and learning about folding it up properly, and other kids were there, and then you had teenagers there who were participating. So it's by far one of my favorite programs because I feel like kids of all ages can do something and make that connection. And again, it's just a reminder of our flags for our heroes, and particularly in this area, it makes me really proud.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Many of the clubs have different focus on the Flags for Hero. But it is a reminder of the sacrifices. In the McLean Club, of which I'm a member, we also recognize those public servants who, the firemen or the police or school teachers. We also recognize those individuals as well for their service and their giving. So we got a lot of heroes out here, right?
A lot of heroes.
Yeah, a lot of heroes. I was going to ask you next about your family support. Sounds like your son is definitely a supporter of yours. How does he fit into all of this?
Well, I mean, I started taking the meetings really early. These dinner meetings are great because, he can sit there, and when he was little in his little seat, he would sit and come to the meetings. And then as he got older, having other kids who would come also, they would come, and I mean, Rotary's a family, this. So we would take them to Nats games at the Rotary Day at the Nats Park. And so he got to see other Rotarians, and he got to see and make this connection. I was so proud that when the Rotary International Convention was in Atlanta, my dad and my son got to come with me to Atlanta, and they got to learn more about Rotary and participate in activities. And I think, exposed my whole family to Rotary. My dad is a huge advocate for peace and engagement in his local community in Philadelphia. So I think I exposed him to Rotary. He did not know. He said, wow, hey, I could get involved in this also. So it made me really proud. I love that Rotary is so diverse. So you really do get to make that connection. And my son was welcomed at meetings and got to meet so many people from all over the world at that convention, and how connected he even felt to Rotary. And it was over.
What did you call them? There are your
Rotots.
Rotots. Okay, I love it.
Now he's a little bit bigger than the tot now, but he's been coming with other friends for a long time.
Rotots, okay. Service above self, has that been helpful to you? That's the motto of Rotary. does that help you when you're conducting your business, your work life or your personal life in any way?
Absolutely. Sometimes you get really frustrated when something is not going this way or whatever, but you have to keep it focused on service. We are truly, I know I am truly blessed to be in the position I am. I have a job I love. I have a healthy family. My parents are healthy. I have an incredible community support. And I feel like it is just a small thing to give back and to do service with people that you would never otherwise even know. I mean, the first time I did the Salvation Army ringing the bell, that was with my fellow Rotarians.
Hmm.
And it was just fun. I mean, we just laughed and rang that bell and you felt silly, but you were making that connection, and doing service with others just makes it even better. And so
Absolutely.
I get to do service with my Rotarians and with my family, who, and then for Rotarians who've become like family, it just is just, one of the best feelings ever. And it really is something I live in principle. In every aspect of my life, I make sure I'm focused on the service and how can I give back just a little of all that I've been given.
Okay. How about the rotary four-way test? Do you
Ah,
also use
yes.
that one? Hmm.
Yes, and it's funny because we during COVID, I felt like we weren't saying it as much. And so now we're back in person engaging with one another. It feels even more important. And I love how, of course, it ends. Is it fun? So many clubs. My goal is that what my hope would be that's not going to happen. But I do think people have moved, particularly in our area. People decided to maybe move a little further south because it's cheaper. So people used to live here, not here anymore. I'm 100% work from home. And I know that a lot of people in my area used to be here. So I see that could be a challenge.
Challenge,
I
yeah.
think finally, I think more incentives, making it easier for people to join a club, streamlining the process, I think will also help, because I do think once people are ready to join, we don't want a barrier to be too many steps to actually getting to that club or finding the club or making that connection. But I do think the district has been doing a good job with really reaching out. The district governor has been amazing the last two with reaching out and saying, how can I personally help? Here's my phone number.
There you
And
go.
that's pretty special.
Yes, it is. And thank you. As we come to a close, We have less than a minute for you to say what you will, if you had to leave a quick message to these young professionals looking at Rotary, what would you say?
Find a Rotary Club in your area. Go visit a couple times, visit a couple. But let me tell you, joining Rotary is a global network. I have visited Rotary clubs around the world, from South Africa to Geneva. Every time I go, I make a new friend and a new connection. This is how you make change in the world and make connections in the world. Join Rotary.
Wow, we really do need you as that ambassador for Rotary.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you so much, President Crystal, for coming today and sharing your time and sharing your thoughts and ideas about Rotary, as well as about the kinds of things that your club is involved. And we hope that you'll come back again and update us on some of the things you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All righty. Good to see you again.
You
For
too.
the Rotary Times program, I am your host, Rotarian Dr. Deborah Jackson from the Rotary Club of McLean, Virginia. You are welcome to join us at a Rotary Club in your area for either breakfast, lunch, dinner, or a service project. You can find a club near you by looking us up on the internet. Many clubs are hosting meetings in person, virtually, or in some hybrid format. You only need to look us up for details. Remember, our time is your time, and it's time well spent. Please join us for our next program as we continue to celebrate Rotary's 117 years of service above self.